Welcome to the Fit Drivers Podcast, sponsored by PrePass. Only PrePass provides way station, bypass, and integrated electronic toll payment services, saving you time, fuel, and money while improving safety and efficiency in trucking. Visit prepass.com for details. Great to see you again, my friend. So happy you took some time to come on today.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me.
So before I do the introduction, I just want to say thanks to PrePass for sponsoring the Fit Drivers Podcast, which is designed really to help educate people out there and carriers and individuals, HR folks, safety people, how really serious the driver health issue really is. We spent all last year interviewing various different people from CDC, doctors and FMCSA and so forth, talking about this. So now I'm going to dedicate time to visiting with people like yourself, Tanya, that are out there actually in the place today in this space offering solutions. So I want to get into that here. So first I want to welcome a really good friend of mine, longtime associate, Tanya Jolliffe. And Tanya is a powerhouse in the wellness sector. She has the opportunity of blending her expertise as a registered dietitian, nutritionist, certified integration mental health professional, which is just valuable in this space. And of course, her passion, really, that's her big attribute, is that she is really sincerely passionate about helping people live whole life purposes, and just not whether it be what they put in their mouth, but really as a whole. And that's what really helps her get the point across to so many people. And she also has been a professional health coach for many years, motivational speaker, author, which I'm going to have her talk a little bit about her books and some things she's done. So, but first, so Tanya, welcome, and good to have you on, my friend. I appreciate you being here today.
Oh, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So the first thing we're going to talk about, Tanya, is we're going to, of course, talk about how serious the driver health conditions really are, and hopefully come up with some solutions. So I'd like for you to tell the listeners out there really about LIT and what you've done and when you found it, and really some of the things you've been able to take to the marketplace and work on with folks.
Well, one of the things, LIT Wellness Solutions, we are a coaching and consulting company, and I have the ability to and the privilege to consult with some other companies in a collaboration approach. And I love the collaboration approach because it's bringing the best minds together. And I feel like that's how we all succeed. I know you believe in collaboration as well. And so that's what I try to bring to the market. But I also do one-on-one coaching and consulting and behavior change modification. And what I understand and what I know is that, we spend a lot of time looking for the right diet and the right exercise. And it is way more than what you put in your mouth and how many steps you take. We have to look at stress. We have to look at hydration. We have to look at sleep. We have to look at those lifestyle behaviors. And I have done that and am doing that through a lifestyle as medicine approach. And that is making all the difference.
Right. And so, Tanya, you've heard me talk many times about the statistics that I get from the DOT about the large percentage of drivers operating on short-term cards versus those with long-term cards. And on your experience working with carriers, do you find those numbers be pretty valid, and same experience you're seeing with a large number of these drivers out there today operating on a one-year card or less?
Yeah, it's I think the last time I calculated it, I got to think back. I think it was 60% was on a one-year card or less. And, I will say that in the last couple of years, we are seeing an increase in people being sent for CPAP for sleep studies. And once you're on a sleep CPAP, you can get off of it, but it's a hard process. So I try to help drivers learn how to talk over themselves around that, saying I am working with a health coach. I do have some documentation that shows my health improvements. And those are key because when you take that, a lot of times you can get a person to the doctor to say, okay, well, let me give you a little bit more time. I see you're making progress. So that can give them a little bit more time to not have to go for that sleep study.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, overcoming a lot of times drivers to get a one-year card, we've had, and you've had success at getting those people up to a longer term card. But you're right, when it gets into the sleep category, boy, you really got to be on it to really overcome that. Certainly could get the pressure decreased, right, and
Yeah,
cut back, those type of things. But you really got to be dedicated to really getting the weight and so forth done. But I want to go back to something you mentioned that you're exactly right, and maybe you give some examples of those. It's just not like you said. It's a lot of times when we get hung up in the whole wellness model, so forth, we get talking about eating and working out, and as you know from being a successful Hall of Fame college athlete, um, you can never outrun your diet, right? You're just not
right.
going to do it. And so, but there's other parts that come in that. It's about really getting your head wrapped around it and get your mind in the right space. Would you agree?
Definitely, definitely. It's one of the reasons that I look at lifestyle wellness and I look at all dimensions of well-being. Physical well-being, that focus is on calories in, calories out. That's a diet mentality, calories in,
Right.
calories out. But there's too many factors that go into that. There's your mental well-being, there's your emotional well-being. Now, COVID brought about some increased awareness of that with the mental well-being. It's one of the reasons I went and got my certification as an integrated mental health professional because that is such a big part of mindset. And how do we change mindset? And understanding that there is way more to this than just calories in, calories out. 80% is your diet, 20% is your physical fitness if you're just looking at calories in, calories out. But I have worked with way too many people, especially women, that they can do all the right calculations of calories in, calories out, and their weight still doesn't budge. Their blood pressure still doesn't budge. Their blood sugar still doesn't budge because their stress is out of control and off the charts, and they're not doing anything to manage that. And that is in the end what makes all the difference.
Well, something you said there also I wanted to touch on a little bit more. And I don't know about you, but during that COVID, I was very frustrated with the fact that we had a really great opportunity to encourage people to get out and move, get outside, get some sunshine, right? Get some walking in. And instead, what did we do? We scared everybody. They ran to the grocery store, all kinds of things, just bored themselves up inside, and really could have had a chance to make some great strides on doing just the opposite, right? And getting out and being active and walking and so forth and learning about better health. But it didn't turn out that way, unfortunately,
Right.
for all of us. So let's talk about, I want to get in, make sure we have enough time to really talk about your experience that you're working in the transportation space today. I want to share with folks, if you can, or what you can share of solutions and what you're finding. So, any carriers that are listening today, HR people, that you're finding that really does work, Tanya, that you're able to get these drivers to get engaged, and what's some of maybe the hot button suggestions that you would make to these folks?
Oh, I got a lot of great suggestions. First is, behavior change is about key questions. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? How can I do it different? And that applies to individuals and it applies to companies. So companies need to understand, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And how could I do it different? And I have to know what I want to change. And I have to know whether I have information to help me, know the ROI, know what you can't measure, you can't change what you don't measure, right? So if you don't know how many short-term cards you have, you can't change them if you don't know how many you have. If you don't know how many drivers you're losing to medical cards loss, then you can't go about changing that, right? So we want to look at those types of things. I'm very fortunate that I was able to partner with Rolling Strong, company we both are familiar with. And I was able to come in as a consultant with them and help a company run a pilot. And what we did was we kind of have now, over the last 2.5 years, we have looked at coaching focused approach to driver engagement. And we've looked at a non-coaching approach to engagement. And what we found was not eye-opening to me, but it was nice to see that we were supporting what the industry-wide corporate wellness numbers were saying. And that is that when you are looking at strategies and solutions that are outward focused in coaching availability and education that are targeted towards the population that you're working with, you can engage 35% of the population. But that 35% of the population can lower your healthcare costs month over month by 19%. And that was
Wow.
19% in the second year. It was over 25% in the first year. And so that goes back to what we know of a third, a third, a third. A third of your people are going to be your enthusiastic people who are going to take advantage of whatever it is you give them. A third of the people are going to be encouraged and educated and brought along. And your lower third are going to take more attention and more direct strategies. But it's that lowest third that's costing you the most money. The most resistant people are costing you the most money. And so you have to employ a strategy for them if you want to see change. You can't do the strategy for the top third. You don't need to do a strategy for the top third. But if you can put a strategy in place, you can see a change. Now, the alternative to that was we just sent out emails and we told them about the availability of the program, but we made no calls. We had no coaching that was directly being marketed. There was some education, but not to the same extent. And there was a 5% participation.
Wow.
And so that mirrors what we know of the industry with employee assistance programs. Companies provide them, but you don't have the people taking advantage of them. So, what does a company want to accomplish? Do they want to actually change? Do they want to actually see change, reduce healthcare costs, retention of drivers, lower, get rid of the 3 month, 90-day cards? Or do they want to just provide a wellness program to say that they're providing a wellness program? What are their goals? What are their true goals? And if their true goals are that they want to change those outcomes, then they got to put a strategy in place that does that. And that's not as hard as they think it is. And it's not as expensive. The ROI is there. You can reduce your overall healthcare costs by 19% or more. So,
And those are, thank you for sharing. Those are incredible numbers. And in any health and wellness environment, let alone truck drivers, right?
right.
So
Right.
how do you overcome the objection that I've heard for many years when you're talking to them and they're saying, well, Bob, the problem is our turnover is 80%. These drivers don't stick around long enough for us to see a positive effect on our healthcare insurance. How do you get them to understand that?
I had a meeting, was sitting at lunch with somebody at Women in Trucking at the Accelerate conference a year and a half ago. And they made a similar comment to that. And I responded with the horrible answer, which was, why? Do you know why you're losing that kind of turnover? And they tried to give something about cost, and people want to go work someplace else where they can make more money, but then they don't really make more money. So then they're back again. And yeah, that is part of it. But I also know that there are a lot of companies out there that have employees that stick around for a really, really long time. They don't have a turnover problem. And the big difference I see is culture. I see collaboration. I see them investing in their people. I see them not seeing their employees' wellness and health as the employee's problem, but as a group approach and a group solution, a partnership and a collaboration between safety and HR that says, what do our drivers need? Oh, our drivers have a really, really hard time getting to see a doctor and getting their physical because when they're off the road, the doctor's offices aren't open. Oh, how about if we employ a virtual option that allows that a physical to come to them instead of requiring them to get to the physical? There's all kinds of strategies and solutions. But again, you have to go back to what is the goal? What are you trying to accomplish? And if your answer is, well, we're just going to have turnover, so we're not going to provide them with any resources or help or support, well, then you're going to keep self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to keep getting what you're supporting and what you're encouraging.
I talk quite a bit about sometimes that those numbers are a bit, I guess you'd say, distorted because, like you said, there's going to be that number at the top of the people that are churning, right? They're coming in and they're heavy recruiting. They're telling them, my gosh, you're going to go to work for this company and they're going to pay you to go around the country and see the countryside and you get paid for it. And they're all signed up for that right until they get behind it and start living the lifestyle. But you're also going to have that bottom tier. You and I both know many thousands of drivers that have been there for 20 years, and worked there a long time. Like you said, typically they have a good skill set. And those are the people that I know that you do, and I certainly do like to concentrate on, because a lot of those people, without help, their health does get compromised. And those are the ones you can't really afford to lose with that experience, right? And those are the ones, and I don't know how much this you fight, but I fight this all the time, of the battle of, they think nothing of spending thousands and thousands of dollars to have this technology to track that engine, let them know that, hey, listen, you gotta get this truck off the road within 200,000 miles, because it's going to blow up, and you're going to have a heavy, road call price to pay to get that truck back in. But getting them to then to spend $100 a year to do a screen for the driver, because the engine blows, what happens? The truck stops. The truck engine and the driver's blows, then there's collateral damage, right, all over the highway. So that's always a tough thing, and I could never ever really. Every time I pose that question, I don't make many friends from it. I'll say that, because they don't like to be put on the spot about that, because a lot of times that's being sent from a different department and pushed down here. Same thing we talk about all the time. So many different silos, right, that you operate in this business.
Well, one of the things I guess I would throw out there is that sometimes it's the education of the C-suite. It's the education of the leaders that you have to take advantage of. And it's hard to get in front of them. It's hard to get into the conversation that says, what is your vending policy? Do you even know your vending contract? Most of the vending contracts are a vendor-focused contract. It's how to make the most money, and we'll do a revenue share. And so they're going to put in whatever the crap is that sells the most. They're not going to put in the more nutritious conscious stuff, right? But let's just give an example. You're talking about the engine blowing up and you got collateral damage. That's no different than the driver that gets the Mountain Dew from your vending machine in your break room, goes and walks into your cab, drives down the road. I can tell you that in an hour and a half, that driver will suddenly start nodding off. And if they are an endomorphic body type, it will probably be within an hour. And you talk about collateral damage and risks and accidents and all of those things. Trying to have that conversation, that's the conversation I want to have, is to help them understand that it's education. It's helping the driver understand that you better have protein with that if you're getting in there. But better yet, company, why are you supplying this glucose drink to your people?
Yeah.
Because the money that you're making off that vending machine and putting in the unhealthy stuff in, you could be making a little bit less, but providing them with nutrient-rich options, V8 juice, for instance, that you're helping provide them with some nutrition, and you're helping to bring down your healthcare costs at the same time. And so it's just thinking about it differently, right? It's thinking about the problem and finding the solution, but you have to know what you want to solve. And what do they want to solve anything? That's really what it comes down to. Do you want to reduce the 3-month cards that you have? How many drivers are you losing from a 3-month card? We can save those people 90% of the time. We can do very, strategic lifestyle as medicine coaching, and we can turn that around. That gets them a 1-year card, keeps a 1-year card, sure. But once we put those behaviors in practice, then we can help see that sustain. That brings them monthly healthcare costs. That's how we brought those month-over-month healthcare costs down, was by sustainable behavior change.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. So, tell me your belief in driver health coaching, face to face or telephonically, or opposed to everything being done electronically. Tell me your belief in that, and if you feel that it really does move the needle more, and it is essential to having a successful.
It's a combination of both. You can talk with somebody who's resistant and doesn't want to hear it and is just like there because somebody told them they had to be there, and you're not going to get much out of that. But I will tell you that in the conversation that you can have one-on-one, most times they don't want to talk with a coach because they think it's going to be a diet, or they think it's going to be some exercise plan that they're going to have to follow, and they don't want to do that. Well, there's a whole host of other small changes that we can offer them and suggest to them that they didn't even think about. And so that can only really happen when you get to have a conversation to say, tell me about your day. Tell me about how you do things. And then be able to say, okay, have you considered this? Have you considered that? For instance, you talk with a driver and he says, well, I leave home on Sunday and I get back home on Saturday, and I stock my refrigerator really well on Sunday. But by the time I get to Wednesday, Thursday, I'm pretty low on everything. And so I then just go and eat whatever I can get at a quick serve. So then you have the conversation as you're talking and you say, well, do you go by any Walmarts? Walmarts you can order and have them bring it out to your truck. You don't even have to go in anymore. That's a blessing that COVID brought us. And so you could restock on your, veggies and your snackables and your water and all of those things, arrange a pickup time, go by and pick it up and have what you need until you get back home on Saturday. Their answer is never thought of that. And so it's just having that opportunity to find out where are their barriers, what are they having issues with, what are they doing well, and helping celebrate what they're doing well, but then helping them see those other areas. So it's crucial if you really, really want to support behavior change, and then having it where you can check back in another few months and say, okay, what's working well? What do you still need work on? I will tell you that I also do one-on-one coaching with a variety of people, and do it through insurance. Insurance companies want to see recurrent visits. So if insurance companies want to see recurrent visits with a health coach or a dietitian, we got to be providing that to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Tanya, if you could, somebody is listening right now, or they want to take away 3 simple steps. They say, I want to get something started today. Certainly contacting you as a resource is one, but if they want to try and implement something, I always try to explain to people that it's not investing in the hospital wing you have to put a program in effect, right? There's a lot of simple things you can do. Education, number one, right? And
Yep.
I'm still always trying to move the needle on. We know that one of the first practices that they do with drivers bringing them in, that is the pre-trip check, right? Safety check every time you stop before you pull out on the road. Take one more step and check your refrigerator and see what you have in there, because you're going to get stuck, right, in traffic or whatever. You don't have a good choice to reach for, they make a bad one. But so give us Tanya's top 1, 2, 3 easy steps that you could put in effect.
The first one would be identify what your goals are. What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to retain your drivers? Do you want to reduce your 3-month cards, 90-day cards? Do you want to reduce your monthly healthcare costs? Do you want to accomplish all 3? Like, establish what do you want to accomplish, and then make sure that you're going to work with somebody that's going to be able to help you to create that strategy that's specific for you and your goals. But I would say the first place to start is to bring in somebody, and they can do it. They can do a video. It doesn't even have to be, I'd be happy to do a video for anybody who wants to initiate in an orientation program that has just a 10-minute, here are the things you as a driver and a new employee need to have in mind in terms of how to be successfully healthy and well on the road as a driver. And so bringing that in and having that education from the very, very beginning that says we care about you, we want to keep you as an employee, and we want to give you the tools that you need to be healthy and well while you do your job. Just like you do all the stuff about what they have to do for their truck and how they have to turn it in and they have to do all their vacation time and all that stuff. Support them in how they can be healthy and well, stay with your company by giving them that support. And that's really as simple as a 10-minute educational video that you would show as part of your orientation, and then some handouts that they have with a resource and education. So that's always a number one easy thing to do, even if you don't want to offer one-on-one coaching, even if you just want to take that first step. The second step I would say would be having coaching available. Whether you're doing an outbound engagement focused, education focused strategy, you can still have coaching available so that if the driver wants it, they have a number and a way to get in touch with somebody to help them. If they get a 3-month card, if their blood sugar is spiking, if their blood pressure is getting into that dangerously high zone while they're on the road, etc. And then the last one I would say is consider investing in your people and partnering and collaborating. If you go in with the long haul in mind, saying we're going to be all in for 2 years, we're going to provide a strategy for education, we're going to provide a strategy for coaching, we're going to provide a strategy for orientation, we're going to encompass all of that, you will retain your drivers, you will reduce your healthcare costs, and you will create an environment and a culture of partnership that makes your drivers want to stay with you.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. So let me ask you about the journal that you did. I want to make sure I get that in. Tell us a little bit about that. It was a 40-day guide, I think I read, right? Journal that you created.
40-day guided journal toward a healthier relationship with food and exercise. And basically, what I learned in my health coaching days is that we pay a lot of attention to tracking. And tracking of food pays attention to what you're eating, right? It's looking at whether it's organic or whole food or packaged or processed. It looks at, how much amounts. But it doesn't look at some of the other key facets of the eating process that includes when you're eating, that includes how you're eating. How you're eating has to do with the place where you're eating. A lot of our drivers are eating behind the wheel. They're eating on the go, right? And so their mindfulness, they're focused on the road. They're not focused on what they're eating. And so we need to have an understanding of that. And then there's the pace at which they're eating. If they are stopping, in their 30 minutes, they got a variety of things they're wanting to get done before they get back on the road. So a lot of them are eating and done in 10 minutes. And so they overfill themselves because they eat way too much, way too fast, and they have no connection with hunger and fullness. So that's another aspect of the eating process. And then there's the why you're eating. Now, it'd be great if everybody always eats because they're hungry, but that's not always the case. They eat because they're bored. They eat because they're stressed. They eat because they're lonely. There's a variety of reasons. And so what the journaling process can do is can help people look at all 4 of those facets and understand what they're doing, when they're doing it, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it when it comes to food and exercise.
Yeah, all those things are so great. I say all the time, I just really believe that we're doing, I know there's a big push on getting the younger population, right, to get into this field and become drivers. We'd be doing them a grave injustice if we did not somehow integrate education of health and wellness, how to live on the road. Because, what's it for if we don't learn from the past, right? And that's part of what we do. And why do we want these folks to go down the same bad road that others have before them and not retire healthy, basically, right? Which should be the mindset of everybody. So, but Tanya, wow, just great information. So if people want to get a hold of you and learn more and hear about your book or hear about talking to you, how do they do that?
You can find all about the book and about me and how to work with me by visiting my website at litwellnesssolutions.com. And I offer a 20-minute free consultation for anybody who might want to just talk through what kind of strategies would you suggest for me or my company.
Perfect. All right, my good friend. Well, thank you. And thanks to PrePass for allowing me to have you on and make this part of their sponsorship so we can get more information out. So great job. And thank you.
Thank you. Always great talking with you.
Bye-bye. Only PrePass provides way station, bypass, and integrated electronic toll payment services. Visit prepass.com for details.